back again. About to eat some of this moringa powder in this applesauce.
Yeah, man, this is what champs are made of right here.
Right.
So you get your moringa shaker, shake a little bit off into your applesauce. You got your energy and a nice little complimentary meal. What they say, an apple a day keep the doctor away. Well, you're gonna keep more than the doctor away. You don't even have to see the doctor when you get the moringatang thing going.
There we go. There we go.
I find it to really be a good mask for applesauce. If you're a person that don't like applesauce, or you have a hard time consuming moringa,
Right.
this is a good way to do it.
And you don't really taste any of that stuff.
Mm-mm.
It's a nice little neutralizer.
Mm-hmm. And it's a little cup, so it's not a whole lot you're consuming.
Right.
Now, for the people that, if you want to take 2 capsules a day, you could do that, or 3 or 4, however much you can handle. But for me, since there's no real standards, I prefer to shake my way to better health.
Okay.
Because I could use this throughout the day, put it on a salad, put it on greens, anything that you consume, right? That's a good way. And but we have options for you. So we have these 3.5 ounce packs that we sell. For folks that want capsules, they can get capsules. If you're looking for herbal ointment, that's available. Or if you're looking for herbal balm, those are also good. What else can you do? You can make teas, you can make pies. God, I mean, it's really unlimited what you can use moringa for.
This is what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of talked a little bit, and there's just a lot of information between the moringa and the aqua farming. But I think it's important that we kind of highlight just your upbringings, just because it's so crazy. My grandfather moved down to Tuskegee, had a pool hall there. I think my dad and his sisters used to live down there before he was off to the Navy, and I would always go and visit Tuskegee and see them down there, and going to the university and just being in that area. It's just different. It's very much different than what probably a lot of these viewers are going to be, watching right now, that probably not used to that super backwood country town.
Very rural.
Very rural, right? I think my grandfather, he worked at a plant that made those, I think they were just sinks, like big commercial sinks. So, and it was out in the middle of nowhere. There were horses on the property. But yeah, that's what my family kind of grew up with. But yeah, let's tell us about your time in Alabama, your time in Tuskegee.
Yeah, Alabama will always be a trip. This is the Alabama Constitution is longer than the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment.
Huge.
It's just an old backwood way of thinking, living. I just couldn't condition myself to that. My grandfather had a pretty large farm, and so I grew up on the farm. He grew a lot of cotton, peanuts, sugar cane. We had cattle, we had hogs, we had, of course, equipment, peanut picker. We had planters, had about 3 tractors. So he was able to do a whole lot of stuff with a fifth grade education that, man, I don't know how he did it all, but by the time I was 12 or 13, it was like, when you got up in the morning, if you were able to get up with a regular sleep, because sometimes you got interrupted at 2 o'clock in the morning, that's when he would show up to pick you up, before you even had a chance to go to school or do anything else that day. So that became a regular thing where all the boys, and there was 6 of us, all of us would be, we might think we were sleeping, but we were sleeping light because he could show up at any minute and just snatch you up because mom wouldn't allow the girls to go, so the boys were. And once you went up to the farm, man, you'd be up there for a couple of weeks, if not longer, right? To a point where we eventually, all of us ended up there for long periods of time. Because the other thing he did was drive the school bus. So, I mean, some days if you weren't down at the bus stop when he came around the corner, he just kept going, and you knew what you had to do after that.
Well, go to the farm.
You better get out in the field, get those tractors gassed up and put the planters on or whatever you're going to do that day. You was pre-assigned. So, when you went to school, it was really with a purpose to learn something because otherwise, look.
He had to work on the farm.
Yeah, you had to work on the farm. And let me tell you, by the time he did his route to come back to the house, if stuff wasn't done, he'd tell you to go and cut a tree down.
Jeez.
To whoop your ass.
What are some of the differences between farming down there and then doing some of your urban agriculture? You talk about the big differences, the small ones, but what are your viewpoints on the two?
Well, I love urban better than I do traditional farming, just for the simple reason, you got all this land mass and people say, well, it's good you put your hands in the soil. Yeah, you can do that. I'd rather put mine in a fish tank, or dig around and feel some red worms. But, it's just so that, we're in a period now of urban ag, which was not even fathomable when I was growing up. Nobody think about growing food inside cities and tall buildings or parking lots or rooftops, right? So we're here now, and I think it's the best thing that's happened in my lifetime as far as the transitional piece of that, because, we lost millions of acres of land as black farmers over the years through theft, through ignorance, and some of it was just downright taken away from a lot of black farmers, right? So here we are in 2023. We got a Department of Urban Agriculture. We have most cities, at least 30, that have an urban ag ordinance to include aquaponics. That was not even thought of 10 years ago. So for people that are living in the city, it's really a sustainable pathway to a viable future as an urban farmer, because you can make $150K a year through urban ag, opposed to I might make 50 or 60 with 10 acres. And when I say might, that means that Mother Nature had to be on your side. So when you plant in March, you're very, very hopeful that your crop didn't get destroyed by a tornado or bad weather or aphid breakout, or you name it. It could happen, right? Within that short 4 months after you plant it. So you may get a harvest where you get, if you got an acre of peanuts, you might get 2 tons to the acre, 3 tons to the acre, which those are some high numbers now, but that's in a good year. So urban farming, you can pretty much get paid every 2 weeks.
Dang, yeah.
You know what I mean? If you schedule your crops right and you don't need but let's say 10,000 square feet, I can make more money in a 10,000 square foot greenhouse than a farmer can make in a 10-acre farm.
What are are some of the biggest struggles you had, or your family had when they were growing up down in the South and doing all that farming? Do you have anything?
Well, the struggles were, of course, labor,
Right.
right? Because if you had a fairly good-sized farm like my grandfather, you really needed the support of the community, and you needed to be able to pay your field hands off with something similar to being decent wage, right?
Yeah, I think this is important that we talk about. We're just in an age right now where a lot of people want to turn a blind eye to this stuff. They want to say that, it's you're only being racist if you talk about race.
Mm-hmm.
But you've seen it, I've seen it. The way that we are approached in the agriculture field in general is just very much not equal. It's just not equal. And then the people who do kind of share our viewpoints, our values, our upbringings, our skin color, they go through the same thing. It's very, very hard to get a license in Colorado or California unless you have an absurd amount of money, and a lot of colored folks like us just don't have that kind of money to put up. And then when you're in that arena, you're also playing against these people who have been doing it for forever. They know all the tricks, all the trades. They know how to recycle their money, how to basically go bankrupt and still have money. Whereas when some of these colored folks get their first bankruptcy, it's over.
Yeah.
That just kind of kicks them out the game. Right now, we're looking at it down here in Southern California, where the only uber rich have licenses, and like some of these people who I've worked for are legitimate criminals, and they are still operating. And it's just really insane that we both kind of come from that Alabama, Georgia, background where we've seen this, and just trying to pass on the knowledge. But yeah, let's just keep hammering away at your time in Tuskegee. We talked about some of the struggles of the black farmer. What do you think? What do you think that taught you, though, as you've come to this point, being an urban farmer?
Well, I think what it taught me, and I still maintain today, is I wouldn't want 100 acres. I mean, it's good to have that kind of property in the family, but as far as farming goes, one of the things I told the folks at Tuskegee is, look, you guys need to figure out a better way to farm, and that is pool your money together. So you got 10 black farmers sitting here. Now, each one of you could come up with $1,500 a piece, build you a greenhouse, and share in the gross revenues every month, because you're only getting paid once a year the way you currently farm, unless you're just growing specialty crops during the summer and you sell them at a farmer's market. But if you got a big time farm and you got 5 or 10 local black belt farmers, but I'm talking about in the South right now, part of the transition should be into the 21st century, and that is pooling some capital and concentrate on specialty crops that carry a higher profit margin. Mm-hmm. That is the fastest way for you to be a profitable farmer and not be relying on Mother Nature to do her thing. I mean, outside is good because you're going to need the bees to pollinate. You're going to need good photosynthesis. Yeah, I get all of that. But you can also, train bees if you have to, right, and put them in, ladybugs for that matter. Right. Bring them inside of your greenhouse and let them do their thing. Nature is a tricky situation sometimes. So, but, as far as the black belt farmers, there really isn't a whole lot of them anymore. Like I said, due to theft and stupidity and, family members trying to seek a better life, and, may have air property and it gets sold off by one person And then you got 6 other heirs that can't even walk across the field because one of the heirs sold their share, which was like 20 acres inside of a 200-acre plot. So now the white man most likely is the one that confiscated it from the family member, tracked them down, and gave them a nice little offer. And what happens? So now the whole family, they come, they want to walk the property. There's a posted sign in the middle that's saying, keep out, because the white man owns it now. So now you got to figure out, okay, but damn, I got to go 2 miles just to come back to the other side of the property. Seeing this kind of stuff happen, it's going on right now. But, you know, the one thing that's unique about Tuskegee is outside of, you know, being home of Dr. Carver was, you know, they have the black belt farmers that they support. And Dean Hill was very instrumental in putting some systems in place that I hope continue into the future, whereby they were able to get the black belt farmers to become part of a co-op, if you will, right? And so all of their produce that they produce, the watermelons, the peaches, the collard greens and black-eyed peas and blueberries and all of that stuff, they were able to come up with a packaging system and a labeling system, so they were able to sell it directly to Walmart in the South. Now that was like a big breakthrough. Some independent urban farmers, like one of my best friends, Michael Jackson, he has Aunt Katie's Garden in my hometown of Dothan, Alabama. Now Michael, he was way ahead of his time and still is today, but where he has his garden located is maybe 5 or 6 miles away from the nearest grocery store, because there's not one in the community anymore. So what he was able to do is grow specialty crops, and he sold directly to the supermarkets. Now that was a big breakthrough for a small-time farmer inside the city, right? So urban farmer extraordinaire, Michael became. But he also got beehives. You know, he makes his own honey, he makes juices, and he grows specialty crops. So, but he's the only one in the whole city. So everybody supports him. You know, he's a commissioner, and so he's been able to do quite well. But not a whole lot of that in my hometown, as opposed to Tuskegee, where you have a more, even though it's rural, you have more 21st century type farming that is taking place, and a lot of people are now realizing that they can create their own foods. Like I got a friend in Tuskegee, SG Berry Patch, grows blueberries. But about 5 years ago, I got her to start growing moringa. So she invited me down home last year. I went out to her farm. She's way out in the countryside, right? And finally, when I arrived, I saw all these cars back on the dirt road. And get up in there, there's about 30 people just waiting, you know, just sitting there waiting. And everybody was, it was kind of warm, about 86, 87, a little muggy. You know, first thing, Josie comes out and she gives me a blueberry popsicle, moringa blueberry popsicle. Oh man, you talking about, yeah, that was some good country eating right there, right? But yeah, but it was beautiful to see, because she had a hoop house right off the road there, where she had all her, she was row cropping her moringa. And on this side, she had the blueberries going. So it was really interesting. A lot of the, even the city council thinks that Tuskegee should become more rural, more urban for the people that live inside, you know, the city. Because downtown, man, is, I mean, I can see downtown just turning my head right now.
Yeah,
you know what
small.
I mean?
It's small.
Very small. You know, you got a computer store over here. You may have a restaurant there that's about to close down. Then you got City Hall, and then that's it, right? That's downtown. So economically, it's deprived of investments that will attract more people into the city. If it had grown over time with society, but there's something about Tuskegee that just it ain't gonna never change. I don't think. You know, it's gonna stay rural, even though you know you got the aviation school there.
Nice.
And Auburn, man, like I said,
It's not that far.
It is a big disappointment when you think about Auburn, 200-acre plus aquatics, right? So they growing catfish and they growing shrimp and
the university,
all on the campus, right? I had the opportunity to visit, had it set up at UC Davis, a good friend of mine who was a aquaponic professor. And he called down and set it up. And I know they were shocked when they saw me stepping up in there. But
we're basically just here to show and tell people that we have the want and the urge to be farmers. It's not the same as traditional farming because the majority of us have kind of gotten shoved out, ironically, what kind of happens in the industry a lot. Any kind of agriculture, they go a certain way, and if it's not done that way, if you don't know these people or you don't have those connections, you more or less get shoved to the side. So we're trying to bring that to light. We're trying to, ask for support, ask for people who are out there that want to make a difference, who actually want to get into the dynamics of politics of our country. It's not going to change unless we make it change. It's not going to change if we just act like it doesn't exist. We just stop talking about it. It's not going to make anything different. Just being very honest, because you just have to look at the corporate agriculture industry, look at the cannabis industry specifically, and how it's being ran, overtaxed, over-regulated, but still only a certain people are making it, certain brands are making it, while other smaller farmers, minority farmers, it's like a hope and a prayer for them to get in. Unless you're an athlete or a rapper, it's just very hard for the normal African American farmer to get into the cannabis space, to get into the ag space and make an actual good living. So it has been done. It's not like it's not being done at all. It has been done. But just because it has been done doesn't mean that it's being done correctly. They may have done it correctly, but it's still very hard for just a normal person to get in it. If you have a passion for growing, if you want to learn how to grow, and you have a passion of healing people, it shouldn't take $2 million to get into that business. Hopefully with guides like this, with talks with James and our other friends in our network, we can show you that we have already found our own way to make our own products to heal people. Cannabis is just another plant. It's not like growing tulips or roses in Holland. It's very easy, and it can be done very, very simply now. We got people who are doing like soil meter technology. We have aquaponic technology. We have greenhouse technology. Ways to make it cheap and simple for new investors and old investors. This is a way for you to show that you're not a part of the problem, that you want to kind of fix the narrative, and you can reach out, contact us, our network, and we'll help you up with all these great ways to give back and do healthy, investments for everyone. So once again, thank you for having us and just, really being real with us. I think people need to hear that. We can't continue to live our whole life with blinders on. It's never going to change. So yeah, let's just, I'm just so interested. It's just like, kind of getting open book at what it kind of was like back there, and just some of the tactics and dynamics that some of these greedy corporate owners use to bar others from entry. So I guess what are your fondest memories of Tuskegee and growing up on a farm back there?
Well, I guess the fondest memories were just living amongst nature. We had cattle, we had chickens, we had orchards, pears, peaches, plums, pomegranates, figs. I mean, we had everything on the farm that was very nutritious for you. So that was my fondest memories. Outside of the work, maintaining all of that, and kind of recycling, repurposing, reusing stuff that was, horse manure, cow manure, chicken manure, putting it on the plants, and the plants would thrive. And it was like a little ecosystem. And my grandmother she's a botanist without a title. Just grew any kind of plant you can think of. So childhood wise, that was really cool. But then you come up into the in the 21st century, and one of the things that I hated, and I still don't like the orange moringa tang. Never will. Don't care nothing for him, because one of the things he did outside of causing the insurrection, January 6th, was he gave white farmers $15+ billion. Didn't ask, they didn't even want it. Just gave it to them, right?
Yeah, to bail out.
Now, here it is. We still, the black farmers still have not collected from the lawsuit, Pickford, right? So you're talking about depriving people of equity in the farm space. I mean, there ain't no way black farmers could ever catch up now with a $15 million+ giveaway that they didn't want. And in the meantime, we're losing our farms because we can't afford to stay viable or equitable because they are big commodity farmers now, right? And in some cases, they was getting paid to just let the land sit there. So you put your farmland into a soil bank. So they get paid residual income from that, right? And then you got the idea of water scarcity. See, I don't think, I can't even recall the time when my grandfather ever said anything about water. We had a well on the farm, and we never did do irrigation in the fields, never.
It just kind of just did its own thing.
It did its own thing. You were in a good 8.5 zone, a 9, where it was subtropical, so pretty much anything can grow, even bananas, trees.
Not a lot of irrigation or anything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but fast forward, so here we are now, we're talking a little bit about cannabis, and the fact that it takes the same NPK to grow cannabis as it does vegetables.
Right.
And one of my arguments has always been, why does cannabis, it's nothing but another damn plant, why should it have its own separate space, taxes, and all these criminal aspects to it, when, again, the white boys come in straight out of jail, they get set up, next thing you know, they're making millions of dollars and they're killing each other because they're greedy, Whereas we got to have an equity program, like we just had to have affirmative action. You know what I mean? It's always some other bullshit other than what it really should be. And that is just equity across the board for black farmers or any other farmers that want to get in this space. And that's why I really am strong on urban ag, because that's what a lot of people don't realize, is that you don't need a whole lot of space to grow in an urban environment. And
nature right there next to you.
Yeah, man, and then just concentrate on those specialty crops. Shit, you can just go sell everything you grow to the Chinese.
Yeah.
to the Indians. You ain't got to go to farmers market on the weekend.
So I'm thinking,
You know?
we have this obvious narrative going. You know, we want to be in the industry. We want to be in, you know, agriculture space. It's just been extremely hard. You know, you also had a very, I wouldn't say brief stint in the whole telecom act, but we've talked about how that has impacted us and how before that it was just like basic radio waves in the air, and then after that we have these 3Gs, 4Gs, 5Gs waves just being blasted to us all the time. We can't see it with our eyes, but it doesn't mean that it's not there. Mm-hmm. And I think what a lot of people are forgetting about the reality that we're living now is that we're always being broadcasted something. There's something always being broadcasted. There's something always, a narrative there. Whether it's the narrative you want or the narrative that you don't want, it's there. So once again, we're just trying to bring this stuff to light. I think the way that we can change course is first by talking about it. And, you know, we're from two different generations, but yet we've kind of ran through the same roadblocks in life. Yeah. And it's kind of funny when you think about it. But we are still finding ways to make a living, to, you know, get up every day and find purpose in this society. So hopefully people can understand that, you know, this is our purpose: healing people, farming, giving this knowledge out to people.
Yeah,
we're not trying to push an agenda. I think there's enough people trying to do that. But we are going to be very real and honest here. There's no reason to, you know, hold back anything that we've kind of been through, because it's all real experience. A lot of people sit behind their screens and kind of just say, "Oh, this hasn't happened to me," or "This happened to me," and so it doesn't matter. But
you see, Black Life. You mentioned telecom and radio, right? So if you consider Black Life, it's like being on a radio dial with 91.5 all the way to 105, right? And we get cut out because we're not getting good reception, right? So when I say good reception, we're not getting that equity that we deserve like everybody else gets. You know, for hell with FM, we still down on AM and analog, you know, when it comes to equity in the cannabis space and even in this farm space. But we do have, if we take advantage of this moment in history, 21st century farming and urban reparative farming, it's an equitable way to live and foster a whole new lifestyle.